Are you strung out on a dream, uncertain as to who you can trust? Can you even trust yourself when it really comes down to it? Do you think they could be pissing down your back and calling it rain? Well, get in the back seat, motherfucker. I'm driving now. Little lady, you can come up front with me. Oh, and put your seatbelt on back there. It's going to be a bumpy night. Some of you may understand, but here's what basically happened. I just remember laying in my bed and looking out at the sign out with the window that was a motel. And this is back in the early 70s. And it was a motel and the sign would say $15. Okay. I remember it flashing 15, and that red light would come off and on and off. At 15. And I just remember that and looking at the little lights of the little small town I was in. And I remember talking to Jesus. He came in, his spirit came in. I just don't know what I was saying and what we were talking about. He wasn't the only one I was speaking with, but I just remember just all night, just talking. I don't know what we were talking about, but I had a very firm relationship from the very beginning. And so that's why it's not any, big thing for me to even, what's the word I'm trying to say? Contemplate that his existence or anything like that. I don't even have to even think about it. It's something that I just know. And the other thing that would happen is I had some spirit would come down. It was definitely a benevolent spirit. Absolutely. And all I know is his name was Dodo. And I guess, you call it your imaginary friend, but this cat was not imaginary. He came in as a figure and he was a dark like figure because it was dark at night. So it was not like he was glowing, but there was nothing negative about him. Maybe there was, and I didn't know at the time because I was just so open, but nothing ever happened to me that would get me freaked out. However, when I would tell my mother the next morning, I'd say, yeah, Dodo came. She really got kind of concerned. She was like, you can imagine what a mother would think. Like, was there somebody coming in his room and like literally like kneeling by the side of my bed and telling me stuff that I guess I needed to know? I don't remember what it was. I don't remember anything about it. But I know that it did happen, and then it left. It's just as quickly as it came in. It probably, I guess, only happened from maybe the ages of like 2.5 to maybe 3.5, and then boom, we were out of there and I was onto a different phase. That's when I got into a new house, and we lived out in the country, which was really, really cool. And I went to kindergarten. Oh my, I just have a story that is freaking crazy. It's just, I can't even believe it sometimes, to be honest with you. I'm just going to jump around a little bit because I'm not going to try and go in order in this, but I do remember this is going to freak some people out. Back in that house, the first house from age 0 to 4, I had a best friend. Okay. Let's just put it this way. Her name was Renee. We were born 4 days apart. We were both Geminis. She was born on the 16th. I popped out on the 20th of June. Okay. Now, we were in the crib together because her mother and dad and my mother and dad were close friends. Maybe a little too close at times. Her and I laugh about this to this day, but let me tell you something. This is freaking crazy. We laugh about it so much because we had a sexual relationship going on when we were in the crib. I kid you not. I can remember literally knowing, what's that hum from? Whatever. I remember knowing that she'd come over and her parents would come over. You got to realize this is the early 70s. So like her dad had a big beard, bushy hair, and, it was just not bushy, but like men had beards back then. Everyone just looked like they were kind of stoned anyway, and like the women, oh man, that was such a cool fashion. My mother was so beautiful. Like she's just so innocent and sweet and pure. And I can't compare her to anybody, but I remember those like, bell bottoms. And then Renee's mother was like kind of the diametrically opposed version of my mother. And she was like a real kind of in control, kind of woman. And her father was like kind of like my mom. He was just cool and laid back, and he let her drive, but he'd be like, she was a pain, that kind of thing. But then I had a dad that was like way, way controlling and stuff like that. But let's not talk about that. But anyway, we were in the crib. She'd come over. Her parents were walking the door. I'd be like, oh, here we go. And I'd have a plan. And this started out. And I remember the first time I go, hey, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play doctor tonight. She goes, oh, really? And I go, yeah, I'm going to be the doctor and you're going to be the girl on that I'm going to examine. And I go, and the first thing I'm going to examine is your butt. She goes, okay. And from right then and there, I look back at that and go, I was an ass man from the very beginning. I mean, either you are or you aren't. And I was from, I guess, day 1, 2.5, and we went along with it. So I go, we're going to go to the bat room, because that's what my mother used to call it. The bathroom. It was like a Batman, and like she'd call it, hey, you going to the bat room? Be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the bat room. And I'd be like, come on, Renee, let's go to the bat room. And we were able to walk. I remember then, because I must have been like maybe 3.5 or something, because I remember walking into the back room and I was walking ahead of her and she was walking behind me. And I was like, okay, now take your pants off because I've got to examine your butt. And she did. And it was just like from the very beginning. And then I don't remember anything in that house after that episode. But when we got into the next house from ages 4 on, it really got funky and actually pretty kind of perverted, not kind of, very perverted. It was, back then, I'm sure, I don't know if it happens these days, but my dad and her dad both had their stacks of, my dad had Penthouse and her dad had a Hustler stack of magazines that we immediately found. I guess I was like hanging out in this closet when I was a kid in my house. And I just remember like going, oh shit, there's a stack of these motherfuckers. And I we went to the same school and we were like, okay, I said maybe 2nd grade at the time. Okay. Cause I know with the school I went up to I went to 2nd grade there and then I went to a Catholic school. Anyway, so I go, hey, you're not going to believe this, but I got some dirty magazines. And she goes, okay. And she comes back the next day and she goes, I look too. My dad has, and she had these playing cards that had pictures of naked women on them. But it was the 70s. So they all had big, huge bushes and stuff, but that was the way it was back then. And we were like, oh, this is so freaking cool. Really cool. And so we were both just like wanting to explore what that was all about. So we would go and like, we lived in the country, literally like, we had like an acre of land and her parents had 3 acres and there was just nothing but woods around. So back then, like I would set up a tent in the backyard. Okay. And no big deal. It's like, oh, the kids Greg and Renee are playing in the tent. Okay, cool. But we'd be in there and I go, okay, I got a couple of these. Let's check these out. I remember pulling out the centerfold and it wasn't the centerfold. It was like, this was a pretty dirty one because it wasn't just women just posing naked. This was some stuff going on. It was positions. Okay. So it was like, okay, well, they're doing something. We got to figure out what they're doing. So we went through and started going through the pages, and I remember like looking at like the different positions. And of course, I think like the first one was the missionary one. And it was like, okay, well he's on top of her. So you want to try it? Like, let's just see what it's like. And she, okay, yeah, let's do that. And we had our clothes on and everything. Okay. So, but I go, okay, you lay down here and get down on the floor and then like put your legs like a little bit like you're kind of like on a bicycle, but you're laying down and I'll get on top and like, let's imitate this position. I had no idea that what was supposed to happen at that point. No, she didn't either. But then we got that one down. Let's go to the next one. I don't remember what they were, but I'm sure you could use your imagination and figure it out. And we just kept going through all of them. And the funny thing is to this day, we're having lunch sometime next week. We will talk about it and just laugh and go, what the fuck will we do? Like, who does that? And like our parents back then had no idea, and nor did they even they would never even think of it, because back in that time, especially like the 70s and living in the country, there was no danger around. There was just like, we would go and just take a walk and go through the hills way away. I don't know, it was like a mile away probably sometimes. And you could see our houses way from a distance. And no one was like, hey, Greg, nothing like that. It was just like, okay, well, I'm getting hungry. Let's go home and we'll go play in the dirt pile. I remember her parents were building a new house because they were living in a mobile home at the time. So they were building the house, and there'd be, a couple huge mounds of dirt that we could just climb up on, dig holes in those dirt piles and just play in them. It was so much fun. Laissez-Ferris Wheel Media.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.